Alright, this is the Evade Paladin build. How does it work? It's a 2-button playstyle. You only use Evade and a disciple skill called Condemn. And the key unique is the ring. Arbiter's Evade triggers a random equipped core skill for every 2 meters traveled. What's Arbiter's Evade? Well, if you go to the Oaths and look at the disciple, whenever you cast a disciple skill, you gain Arbiter for 4.5 seconds. So let's do that. We cast this. Now we have Arbiter form. If we now evade, we trigger 2 Fists of the Heaven. This does not work if we don't have the Arbiter form. So 4.5 seconds, that's quite short. So it's very important you get a temper of Arbiter duration. I got one on my boots, 100%, that's very good. I think 50% should be fine to get the duration to at least 6 or 7 seconds. Because while Condemn only has 3.7 seconds cooldown, it also has a 2.3 second delay before the cooldown starts. If I trigger this now, the cooldown will not immediately start. It takes 2.3 seconds, and then you get the 3.7 second cooldown. That's why you need at least 6 seconds duration on your Arbiter form. You can refresh it by re-triggering it before it expires, and that's really recommended, because every time you do so, you get a stack of this buff. It's an aspect on the amulet. You lose the stacks if Arbiter expires. So Falling Star is also a disciple skill, which also grants you Arbiter form. You usually don't use it once your cooldowns are short enough, because it has a quite long animation. As you have seen in the gameplay footage, I just use Dash and Condemn, and that just works better. Yeah, I decided to use Spear of the Heaven. It's usually not a core skill, but you can upgrade it with the Fist of the Heavens node to turn it into a core skill, and it has really high damage. The area of effect is usually quite small. You can upgrade it with a temper. I got lucky here and got 78%. You can temper greater affixes. You just have to try a few times. I have a greater affix on this. I've got a greater affix on this temper. You can now indefinitely reset your tempers as long as you have Scroll of Restorations. You do that at the Masterworking once you have upgraded it to 25 quality. So I really recommend using these. You can each of those restores 1 temper, and you can use as many as you want, as many as you have. So yeah, Arbiter duration is important. Spear of the Heaven size is important. Obviously, these are the aspects we need. Oh yeah, this aspect reduces the evade cooldown of Arbiter. So it's almost instantly reset. That way we can spam and get a lot of triggers. So you wanted some ranks on Spear of the Heavens, obviously, for damage. But also Guard is a really, 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 really strong passive. And I show you why. it gives armor, and this castle, Paragon, legendary node, scales damage of your armor. This is 1800% damage multiplicatively just from our armor. We're sitting at 102,000 armor. Yeah, and this scales our damage. There it is. This is also important for the aspect on the pants. Indomitable, you gain 130% of your armor based on your block chance. Block chance, where is it? 100%. It only shows 100%, but we have way more than 100% block chance. And this aspect actually overcaps. So instead of giving us 130% armor, it gives us 234%. So that's very important to cap your block chance, which you also do. With the Guard passive. 65% block chance. If you look at this block chance 100%, remove the shield, still 100%. I got Guard on the amulet for, remove that, still 100%. Remove 2 of the ranks, it's still 100%. But this one is now down to 130% bonus. Now it's 156. 208. And every point of block chance increases this bonus, 234. So you want armor, strength, because each point strength gives you 2 points of armor and some skill damage. So you want both of that. So strength is really strong, armor is really strong. Life, obviously, we want a bit cooldown reduction, we want crit chance. And if you can temper Guard on it, do that. The life per second isn't really useful here. That's a dead stat, I need to replace that. New pants, but that's what I got. Same on the boots, the faith per second, we have no use for that. We only have the strength, movement speed, and the ranks Spear of Heaven. And the Arbiter duration, that's other good stats. Again, strength, cooldown reduction, life on hit, nice for survivability, I guess, but not required. Cooldown reduction, crit chance, strength, life. Yeah. The reason I created this build was because I found this shield. It had already 3 greater affixes, and I masterworked another onto it. And yeah, that's why I decided to build around this skill, Spear of the Heavens. It deals really high damage, and yeah, it's a really nice playstyle too. The weapon, it's maybe a bit of an unusual temper. I got the chance to deal fire damage, because I have on the shield chance for Spear of the Heavens to deal double damage, and that does not exist as a temper. It's the only skill that doesn't have a double damage temper. It only exists on the shield. Otherwise, I would probably tempered it on the shield. But yeah, can't do that. So I decided to go with a lucky hit. And if you look on the damage on top, it says 357 damage per second and 271 to 379 damage per hit. So that's an average of 300 something damage per hit. And now we got a up to 40% chance to deal 5,900 damage. That's like almost 20 times the damage. It's only 40% chance multiplied is the 35%. So I don't know. What's that? 40. That's about a 14% chance. A 14% chance to deal 20 times the damage. So I think that sounds pretty good. Yeah. Ranks of Spear of the Heaven on the boots. Very important. Obviously. Movement speed. Yeah, you just need one. Because once you are in the Arbiter form, you gain movement speed. I only have 885 because of the Shroud. If I remove that and lose the 40% from the stealth, I'm at 145. But if I go in the Arbiter form, I'm instantly at 200. Well, even without the boots, so I probably don't need the movement speed on it. Next boots won't have movement speed or fate per second, so yeah. Harlequin, I got lucky with this one. Got lots of cooldown reduction, but you don't need it. As you can see, I've got 75, which is a cap. If I take it off, I'm at 62, but this is only when standing still. If I move, I'm still at 73.8%. That's almost cap, so that's perfectly fine. Why do I get cooldown reduction when I move? Good question. Paragon board. It's one of those. This one. Relentless board. While moving in 2 seconds after, you deal extra damage and gain 30% cooldown reduction. And you're constantly moving, so this should be up always. So I could drop the cooldown reduction on my gloves, on my ring, on my amulet, and then still be at 73.3%. So to optimize, I could really do some other attributes here. I could do crit damage or another passive instead of these cooldown reductions. Yeah, Shroud of False Death is nice, but you can use the legendary armor and yeah, it works just fine. You don't really need any of the mythics. It just improves the damage. Yeah, passive skills are good. Strength, cooldown probably not needed. The temper and guard, you really want that. We have gone over that. Aspect is strong. Need to make sure you don't lose your Arbiter form because then you lose all your stacks. Here's this heavy stack. It's 17. You can see the damage goes up. Yeah, it's pretty good damage. So, let's go over the skill tree first. You need to pick one point here, nothing here. We put as much as in guard as possible. Our armor and block chunks. This scales our damage very, very high. Extra damage from blocking. We have 100% block chunks, so that's great. Core skills could deal more damage, obviously. We get the Fanatism Aura for a bit of attack speed, which we don't really care. We don't attack, we just evade. And it increases our crit chance and crit damage a bit. This is a defensive aura, increases armor, very good. Raises, and it gives some life every 2 seconds, or some life every second. This is a movement skill. I don't really use it. It got a long animation, so yeah, not use it much, but it's good for an emergency when you want to move. Damage while fortified. We are always fortified. Crit damage while fortified. Yeah, same. I need to explain these really much. It's basically damage, damage, damage. There's some cooldown. I could maybe get rid of this and put somewhere else, but I don't really know where would I put it. Probably here? Chance to ignore damage, maybe. I don't know. Oh yeah, this is a skill tree. Condemn, this is a skill we need to trigger every 6 or 7 seconds to trigger the Arbiter form. You want either this upgrade, this is great, it pulls enemies in, but if you're struggling with the cooldown and the duration of your Arbiter, you can ignore this and use this one instead, which makes it trigger much faster. If I press it, Condemn now, it almost instantly triggers the cooldown. Compared to this upgrade where it takes like 2.3 seconds. So start with this, and once you got the cooldowns and durations, switch over here. These are all damage. This is our main damage skill. You want this upgrade, you need this upgrade to make it a core skill. There's no way around it. Damage, damage. Lucky hit chance a bit. Maybe I take the cooldown out. Put it in lucky hit. So we trigger the weapon lucky hit chance more. Yeah. I put 1 point into Arbiter of Justice. And the upgrades, you don't need it in theory. Because this triggers the Arbiter. But this upgrade gives you a ton of movement speed. This is the reason I don't really need movement speed in the build. It sets me to 200%. So that's why I decided to put the 3 points here. Then you get here this for some extra damage and armor for every unit that you have equipped. Some damage against elites. Armor is increased by your shield's block chance. This is very good. That's why we stack block chance and armor. And as the ultimate passive, we take Coat of Arms. It's scales your damage again based on your armor and your block chance. I got 115%. Even though this is Arbiter specific, it only gives 85%. So it's much weaker than this generic one if you have the armor and block chance. Yeah. So, the Paragon board. I didn't really optimize it much, but I can give you one very important tip. Rush the legendary nodes. Ignore everything else on the way. Just rush the legendary nodes. This is a 80% damage increase and 30% cooldown. That's nice, but it's not the best one. So if you're low on Paragon points, use this board first, Castle, because of this damage multiplier. 1800% is just broken. This will not survive the next season, so yeah, better use it now. Then, yeah, scale block chance, life, and armor. Scale armor wherever you can get it. Armor is very important. And once you have this, then you want Relentless. I got the Splendence glyph in here. In the castle, I got Judicator. Then we got the Shield Bearer. Increases my damage again, depending on my block chance. I got the Arbiter glyph in here. Not because of the ring strike damage, but because of the additional bonus 18% multiplicative while in Arbiter form. Then I got the Divinity board, 90% more damage against vulnerable enemies. And I put the Canny Node in here for non-physical damage. Yeah, that's it already. Starting board has a Spirit for a bit more crit damage. Yeah, I don't really have leveled them all the way, but I got them all to around 50, at least 46. You don't need to push this one above 46 because the Arbiter wing attacks aren't really our main source of damage. So focus on these fours. For Judicator, Kenny, Spirit, Resplendence. Mercenaries, I just pick any. I pick Zubo for the minimap. It shows me the enemies on the minimap. Divine Gifts, pick whatever you are comfortable with. The one in the middle give you just rewards. The outside also have negative effects, so be careful what you choose. Yeah, we got a lot of toughness, we got a lot of strength. This is all because of our armor. It scales defense, it scales offense, so really good stat.